There's pretty much no movie franchise with as passionate a fan base as Star Wars. Fans will cling on to every last canonical word, and for all the highs they'll celebrate, there are also plenty of, let's say, less than brilliant moments that they won't stop decrying. Not every single one of them will have us shouting that the franchise has been ruined, but they almost certainly left your blood pressure at least slightly raised, wondering who the hell gave these ideas the green light. And the best thing about Star Wars fans, though, is how different and diverse they are. We can never agree on anything, especially when it comes to The Last Jedi, but very occasionally a creative decision is made that annoys almost everyone. I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and these are 11 moments that pissed off every Star Wars fan. Number 11. Chewie doesn't get a medal, A New Hope. In the 40 years since A New Hope hit cinemas, fans haven't been able to let go of one little niggle at the very end of the movie. For all of his good service throughout the adventure and being such a sound lad in general, Chewbacca isn't awarded a medal alongside Luke and Han at the special ceremony. What gives? The expanded universe has occasionally bristled with the subject, mostly settling on the fact that Wookiees see no value in medals. Now that the EU is essentially kaput, though, that goes totally out of the window. Last year, Chewbacca himself, Peter Mayhew, made the more practical assessment that the only reason the filmmakers inadvertently enraged so many Chewie fans is that they either didn't have the money to make another medal, or, more likely, Carrie Fisher was simply too short to put the medal around his neck, and there was no way to film the scene without it looking a little silly and a little clumsy. And hey, at least there's an excuse for this one, something which can't be said for Chewie not receiving a big old hug from Leia after Han's death. Number 10. The No. Revenge of the Sith. Upon learning from Darth Sidious that Padme has died, apparently at his own hand in Revenge of the Sith, a newly constructed Darth Vader breaks free from his restraints and utters a pained no. Alright, I'm not James Earl Jones, but you get the idea. And look, you can see what they're trying to do here, but it basically derails an otherwise extremely cool and super important origin scene for one of the most iconic figures in pop culture history. Everyone and their uncle has made fun of the scene by now, but it's simply staggering that Lucas didn't realize how dumb it sounded in post-production. Seriously, it wouldn't have even been a difficult fix, just cut the line and have Vader silently fall down in anguish. That might have looked a little bit awkward, but it's infinitely better than the alternative. And never mind the easy fix, could nobody just get James Earl Jones back into the recording booth at all? You'd think a $100 million plus movie would be able to hook that up. Then again, there is the other far more horrifying possibility, that Lucas actually thought it sounded good. Number 9. The dropped plot threads, The Last Jedi. If you listen closely at any given time and really focus, you can always hear the rumble of accusations that Rian Johnson ruined Star Wars, rippling throughout time and space, destined to echo forever and ever. The cosmic ballet goes on. Because yes, according to some fans, the director supposedly didn't get the franchise and what it was, and instead made a ham-fisted reduction that went against everything that makes Star Wars, well, Star Wars. Or at least what some fans want it to be. And while I don't agree with all of the criticisms, I can at least see where some of the anger stems from, especially with the dropped plot threads in The Last Jedi. The Force Awakens established a series of open mysteries by its end, teasing that the sequels would provide some answers. Who were Rey's parents? Who was Snoke really? Who the hell were the Knights of Ren? These aren't the only ones, but they're the biggest, and they were all either ignored or answered with a flippant, "These aren't the plot points you're looking for" Jedi mind trick. Number 8. Han Solo's death, The Force Awakens. He's a rare moment on this list that pissed fans off, but was actually meant to. As we all know, in The Force Awakens, Han Solo heads out on his own to confront his son Ben, aka Kylo Ren, but after trying to persuade him away from the dark side, Ren murders his own father by running him through with a lightsaber and allowing him to plummet off the walkway. It's easily the most devastating moment in the Star Wars franchise, and still a fresh wound for a lot of fans. Not everyone may agree on how telegraphed and obvious the death scene was, but it sure as hell garnered the required reaction. Whether it made you angry for in-narrative reasons or because you just didn't like its execution, the scene really made everyone hate Kylo, while pretty much guaranteeing that he won't be coming back over to the light side over the course of the next 2 movies. Number 7. the Anakin-Padme romance, Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. Alright, where to even begin with this one? Anakin and Padme's romance in the latter two prequel movies is beyond painful, and though it's clear to anyone with a functioning pair of eyes and ears that Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman have absolutely zero chemistry whatsoever, the real issue here is Lucas's howlingly tone-deaf script. The romance writing is just bad. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere. Some of the more infamous moments include Anakin awkwardly hitting on Padme when they're reunited as adults, all of Anakin's hilarious, creepy staring.
The most powerful Jedi ever.
I don't like sand. It's coarse and it gets everywhere.
I hate them.
The sand monologue, the line, "I'm haunted by the kiss you should never have given me," their love-in at the meadow, and, of course, Anakin, "You're breaking my heart." Considering how much of these movies apparently hinge on the two being a convincing couple and, you know, eventually creating Luke and Leia, it's absurd how unambiguously terrible what passes for romance is in this prequel trilogy. Number 6. Padme's death, Revenge of the Sith. Speaking of romance, Padme may not have always been an easy character to like, but for the love of God, she surely deserved a less crappy death than this, right? I mean, she's not good, but she didn't deserve this. After giving birth to Luke and Leia, Padme promptly expires in the delivery room, having apparently lost the will to live for reasons nobody actually explains in the movie. It's such an anticlimax and just ends her tenure in the franchise on a hugely underwhelming note. Her death is necessary, of course, nobody's really arguing against that or really cares about that, but could Lucas not have come up with something more interesting than this frustratingly vague, scared to commit explanation? It's like they left it to the night before shooting and knew she had to go, and then just thought, screw it, there's dumber stuff in here. People won't even notice. Who's going to remember the reason for this death when we've got a god-awful no coming right around the corner? And they were right. Unfortunately, that didn't save their bacon. Number 5. MIDI-CHLORIANS. The Phantom Menace. Lucas learned the classic screenwriting lesson the hard way, that sometimes less is more, and it's possible to give people too much by over-explaining the mythology at hand. In an infamous scene in The Phantom Menace, Qui-Gon explains to Anakin that the essence of the Force are the MIDI-CHLORIANs, intelligent life forms that reside within living cells and allow those with high MIDI-CHLORIAN counts to access the Force. For one, MIDI-CHLORIAN is a stupid name, and that's from someone who thought wearing this shirt today would be a good idea, so you know it's definitely bad. And secondly, making an exact science out of cell counts in relation to the Force removes so much of the mystique and intrigue that, to be honest, was much better left ambiguous and vague. Star Wars fans agree on very little, but just try to find someone who will defend this needless addition to the franchise. I'll wait. Oh, there's someone in the comments right now, isn't there? Yeah, knew that would happen. Number 4. General Grievous, Revenge of the Sith. Easily one of the most exciting aspects of Revenge of the Sith was the introduction of the new villain, General Grievous, who sported 4 arms, each holding its own lightsaber. There's nothing cooler than that, especially when you were me and were a child and saw these flipping things going all over the place. It was awesome. But then the movie came out, and to fans' horror, he ended up being extremely lame. He was a surprisingly mild antagonist in the end, who put up much less of a fight against Obi-Wan than most of us expected. And sadly, this is the prequel trilogy all over, really. Underwhelming villains who look awesome in a trailer or on a lunchbox, but don't really live up to the hype at all. He did end up making Obi-Wan look like a total G though, so there is that. And he's pretty damn good in Star Wars Battlefront 2, just saying. Number 3. EWOKS. EWOKS everywhere. Return of the Jedi. Alright, so the EWOKS are cute and all, and they do have an admittedly sick treehouse kingdom, but there's one very legitimate reason to dislike them. They were only put in the movie to sell merchandise and make the film more appealing to children. It worked like a charm, of course, even though this portion of the film feels massively out of place, especially when the diminutive little critters start wrecking stormtroopers left and right with sticks and stones. It's just too silly, even for a franchise as silly as Star Wars, and helps contribute to ensuring that Return of the Jedi is easily the weakest of the original trilogy movies. Hell, the Ewoks are so loved by so many fans that there are plenty of fan edits of the movie out there that remove them entirely. In an era of porgs and someone else who'll show up later, they're not the anomaly they once were, but they're still more than enough to spark the rage in even the biggest Return fans. Number 2. GREEDO shoots first, A New Hope Special Edition. When Lucas decided to re-release 1977's A New Hope as a special edition with remastered effects, he also cheekily included a change to the iconic cantina scene that fundamentally changes the tenor of the whole payoff. As we all know, in the original version of the film, when GREEDO confronts Han Solo, Solo blows him away mid-conversation, underpinning the self-preserving ruthlessness of the character. In the special edition though, the scene has been digitally altered so that GREEDO fires first, Han dodges the shot and returns fire, killing GREEDO in self-defense. Fans rightly expressed outrage that Han returning fire was stupid because A, the whole point of the original scene is that Han sensed the danger and knew to kill GREEDO first, and B, GREEDO firing such a close range and missing makes no sense at all. Nor does the inhuman neck twinge Solo makes to get out of the way. Like, what is this? Like I can't, that's physically like sort of impossible. I can't, this actually hurts. Ooh, ow. I think I pulled a muscle. Number 1. Jar Jar Binks, The Phantom Menace. And finally, nothing else was going to ever make the top spot, was it? I mean, it's Jar Jar Binks, a walking punch bag since 1999. People have been perfecting jokes about him before I even understood what jokes are. Arguably, I still don't, but whatever. Even though it's beating a dead horse by this point, Jar Jar Binks is still by far the worst creative misstep in the entire Star Wars universe, an infuriating CGI creation who exists solely to appeal to kids and sell toys. And then there's the whole controversy about Jar Jar being an unflattering racial caricature, and it all adds up to make him the thing most Star Wars fans can agree to hate on. He actively makes the Phantom Menace more difficult to sit through, and thankfully had his role drastically scaled back in the next 2 movies. Thank you, George. You will never know how much I'm grateful for that. Sadly though, J.J. Abrams didn't show us Jar Jar's grave in The Force Awakens as he casually promised to. So yeah, the memes might be funny now, but we won't be laughing when he comes back. The joke will be on us. So that's our list. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Did these moments piss you off as much as they pissed me? Probably not, because like I said, Star Wars fans can't agree on anything, but I'd still like to know your opinions regardless. And while you're there, could you give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to whatculture.com for more list news like this every single day. Even if you don't though, I've been Josh, this has been my Princess Leia haircut, you've been watching What Culture, and I'll see you soon. Bye.